Hello, I'm Stuart Pallister, the editor of INSEAD Knowledge, and today we're at the World Effie Festival in Singapore talking to Lord Sebastian Coe. He's chairman of the 2012 London Olympics Committee. Lord Coe, you positioned the Olympics bid around young people, inspiring young people. Why did you take that approach?
Because I thought it was an all-embracing message. It was a message that the family of world sport and the International Olympic Committee had very much at its heart. It was a message that I think was with the rub of the green. It wasn't one that was in any way unclear or unambiguous, or ambiguous rather. And I think it was one that we felt very strongly in the UK actually demonstrated one of our great passions, and that is for sport. People behave and talk about sport in a way they rarely talk about other things, and we were as conscious about providing a bid and a delivery process that had as much thought behind what it was we were leaving behind once the show had left town as the operational value of the 16 days of inspiring Olympic and Paralympic sport. The two had to run hand in hand. In fact, our master plan is the first master plan in any host city that has enshrined in one body of thought the operational ability to stage a games and the legacy. And I think that's been very important. So sport for us was absolutely the heart of what it was we were talking about.
Well, given that young people today seem to spend so much time in front of computer screens and aren't out and about playing sports, isn't it going to be difficult to get them interested?
That poses a challenge, but it also poses a big opportunity, because I don't take the pessimistic view that because more young people are involved with computers, and we know that 90% of teenagers in the UK are in online communities, whether it's Facebook or Bebo, but that actually provides us with a unique opportunity to actually access them, to use language they understand, and technology that's familiar to them. And instead of sitting back, as often governing bodies have, and said, oh well, the game is up because a large percentage of them are doing that and not doing sport, although a large percentage are actually on screen-based activities that are related to sport. The challenge is to get them from the virtual world of a PlayStation and into the real world of a tennis court or a golf course. So I think this is something that actually affords us much greater opportunities than by simply saying, well, the game is up because they're all doing that. If we do, then somebody else will access their space, and that is what I think is really important about going forward, and that is why most of our communication strategy for 2012 is going to be rooted in an internet communication strategy.
So does it mean that you're going to be basically trying to target social networking sites?
Absolutely, to the point where we will, our education program is going to be a net-based program. When we launch our cultural program, a lot of that will be done that way. It's the way we will it'll be the way we use to recruit our volunteers, and we have to accept that for people of my age, it was traditional media that created the role models. It was television and newspapers, and to a certain extent that will still be the case, but what new digital media allows us to do is to bring those heroes, current and past, to rekindle some of the great stories, the great personal odysseys that have taken place in the Olympic Games. That's the way that those people come to life, so that young people can access their lifestyles, their histories, their cultures, their training programs. There's a huge area of activity that we can engage in by using that platform.
Turning to the Beijing Olympics, which take place this year, you've spoken here at this conference about the hidden hand of foreign policy. The British Olympics Committee is basically demanding that all athletes sign deals to say that they won't speak about human rights while in Beijing. Were they right to do that?
Well, first of all, the British Olympic Association didn't do that, and of course the IOC in Rule 51 has had a very clear bylaw that states that, you know, an Olympic venue is not the backdrop for a political demonstration. The British Olympic Association has certainly not tried to gag athletes. It's actually a protective measure and for younger athletes, and actually I signed in my 2 Olympic appearances similar code. So it's not actually the way it's being construed.
It does seem to be somewhat draconian, though. The perception's going to be that people are being gagged.
Well, that may be the perception, but I can tell you that that is not the policy of the British Olympic Association.
What's your view then of the way the Beijing Games are being marketed? It seems to be very much tied up with national pride.
Well, tell me an Olympic Games that hasn't been tied up with national pride, of course. It's a great, all Olympic Games afford a fantastic opportunity to showcase a country. You know, we showcased London in 1948, we did so in 1908, Munich and Tokyo were, you know, the moments when those 2 countries came back effectively into the international fold. Seoul was a great moment for actually driving, for instance, a whole raft of disability rights legislation because the Paralympic Games had been there. So every Games is different, every game showcases a country. That is understandable. It's a huge global opportunity to do that.
And finally, just to go back to the London 2012 Games, by what criteria would you say they would be a success?
Oh, for me, the overwhelming litmus test for me is, can we get the Games to touch the majority of the population in a way, not just simply in sport, but in the cultural platform, making sure that business opportunities are understood and spread about the United Kingdom, that we're able to drive through educational programs the values of the Olympic movement of friendship and courage and fortitude and respect and open competition, all those things which actually the Olympic Games has a massive and unique opportunity to do. So it's really, we want to touch everybody.
Lord Coe, thanks for joining us on Knowledge.